Friends and fellow seekers, we have assembled here today to remember a day that had dawned upon this site 59 years ago. Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Delhi branch, had come into existence that day. As directed by the mother on the 12th of February that year, that is 1956, 12 devotees under the captainship of Sri Surendranath Johar sat down for meditation, invoked the grace of the Divine Mother and the Master, and that was the beginning of the ashram where we have all gathered today to remember that day with gratitude. As you know, this is the only institution outside Pondicherry having the privilege of bearing the name Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Delhi branch. When dear Taradi asked me to speak and Dr. Bijlani wanted a subject from me, it came to me spontaneously that today is a day, today is a time when we can have a bird's eye view of the tradition that is the ashram in India and how our ashram, if at all, is different from them. You see, India can be, I won't say proud of, because this is something exclusive. There is no question of feeling proud or anything, but India had the distinction of three unique treasures. Three unique treasures. No civilization in the world had such a catalogue of three treasures. A set of individuals known as the rishis and the munis, the builders of Indian civilization and culture. Then a great ideal called the yoga and a set of institutions called the ashrams. The ashram is as old as Indian culture and civilization. We do not know exactly the nature of ashrams at the time of the Vedas, but soon afterwards, during the time of the Upanishads and the great epics, namely the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, we see a very distinct constitution of ashrams spread over the subcontinent around a rishi. Rishi had his chief disciples who would be teaching the other disciples, but there was one rishi who actually practically was the identification or the identity of the ashram. As I told you, they were the builders of Indian civilization and culture. Look at Indian literature. Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Two great rishis are the poets, Valmiki and Vyasa. All the six systems of Indian philosophy. See, Patanjali, Kapila, Kannada, they are all rishis who have initiated great schools of philosophy. Even drama, play, poetry, dramaturgy as we call, Bharata Muni, he is the person from whom all these things came codified. Charaka and Sushruta, the founders of the system of Ayurveda, the Indian system of physical treatment. they were rishis. So around practically, not all, but around many of the rishis, an ashram was formed. And the most ideal, there are different kinds of ashrams, but the most ideal ashrama also had a gurukul attached to it. One aspect of the ashram was practically a multifaceted school where the guru would study the swadharma. It is a very, very tough thing for any average human being to do, to find out this swadharma. Swadharma means the personal evolution of a young man who has come to be educated. How far he has developed within, his culture, his understanding, his intelligence, his capacity, in other words, as they called it, the adhikar, the right to learn, how much right he has earned already, developed already within, so that the guru can further direct him to go in a certain direction. And only a guru who was a rishi could do that. And there were rishis who were geniuses. To a deserving child, a young man, he would teach military arts, to somebody the Vedas, to somebody the science of health, to someone the music, someone the scriptures. It went on like that. You find great examples of other rishis who are the products of premier rishis, the senior rishis. Say, how the rishis tested the boys. You know the story of Aruni. There was a great rishi called Dhaumya. And in those days, you see, it was a very different philosophy from the later philosophy of the later ashramas. They accepted the world as real. Each ashram inmate had to work, had to labor for the sake of the ashram. The ashram hardly depended on outside help. They had very little need. Unlike today, they had very little need, and that need was practically met by the labor and by the intelligence of the inmates of the ashram. Now, Dhaumya had a small piece of land adjacent to a huge lake. Now, one night, it is raining very heavily, and the crops were new and tender on the ashram's property. At midnight, when the rain does not subside, Dhaumya asked the boys, who can go and see that there is no breach in the embankment between the lake and the land, because if water flows, the tender crop will all be destroyed. Aruni stands up, says, I will go. And he goes away, but the whole night it rains, and Aruni does not come back. Early in the morning, the sage, along with a few other disciples of his, he goes and he sees that Aruni has fainted, but he is lying asleep along the embankment. The mystery was, with handfuls of earth, he could not repair the little breach that had taken place in the embankment, and the water was beginning to flow into the crops. So ultimately, he himself lay down there, so the water could be stopped. The Guru brought him back to the ashram and told him, my dear child, you have excelled in every other branch of Vidya. I was just waiting to find an opportunity when I will be satisfied with your determination to achieve a certain work, a certain mission, when you have been bestowed with the opportunity to fulfill that mission. So today I knew that you do not have that ego, that I am somebody very precious. No, everybody is precious, you are precious too. But then you have committed to a mission that you will not allow the overflowing to come into the tender crops, and you have done it very, very practically as it was possible for you to do. And today you have earned the right to become a guru. And he goes out of the Gurukul, he himself becomes a guru. Now, most probably, according to one opinion, what is known as caste system today, the resident caste system, that originated out of a great ideal. Now, when the rishis used to find the swadharma of a man, of a young man, and trained him in a certain direction, his children, they did not come to Gurukul, not every boy used to come to Gurukul, so they followed father's tradition. And this is how castes were created, different specialized functions were created in the society, maybe. But the rishis also had the right to declare someone's what he is. They did not call it jati or caste as we call it today, it was varna. Now, the example of, you must have known the story of Satyakama Zawal, a young boy living with his mother on the outskirts of a forest near a river. Now, this little boy does not know who his father is, wherefrom he came. He was an infant when the mother had come and found a small deserted hut and has taken shelter there along with the boy. And the mother goes and collects dry wood every day and carry them to the locality and butter system, and he gets rice and other things for the child and for herself. Now the child goes to bathe in the river. He sees on the other side of the river there are a few huts, few cottages, and a group of young boys come and jump into the river, and then their master comes and they together they read Gayatri, they do Surya Aradhana, and then they go back. One day the boy asks his mother, "Mother, can't I join them?" The mother says, "You have to ask the Guru, the master of these boys, you go and ask them, ask him." So the boy goes to the Guru and asks Gautama, his name is Gautama the Guru, "Guruji, can I become a disciple of yours? Can I become an inmate of this Gurukul?" And he asks, "What is your name?" And he says a name, that original name we have forgotten, the Upanishad does not mention it. "What is your father's Gotra?" "I don't know." "Varna?" "I don't know." "Go and ask your mother." And his name also, you go and ask your mother. The boy comes, asks the mother. The mother says, "My boy, when I was a young girl, I was a servant in a household, and they got him married to another servant. In those days, it was not the culture of a bride to inquire about the husband's name. Soon thereafter, an epidemic fell. In the epidemic, everybody died in the family, including your father. Since then, I have been working here and there. I do not know what was your father's name, even not to speak of Gotra or to speak of Varna." The boy goes back and tells the Rishi, "This is the statement given by my mother." Rishi says immediately, "Of course I know what you are born, you are a Brahmin. Because you have spoken the truth. You have spoken the truth. Your mother could have given a bluff. You could have given a bluff. But your mother has spoken the truth. You have spoken the truth. So what more do I need? You are a Brahmin. And your name is Satyakama, because you are speaking the truth. You desire truth. You aspire for truth. And Satyakama Zavalo, your mother's name is Zavali. You become Zavalo. Satyakama Zavalo." So they had the right, these rishis had the great right to even bestow a varna on somebody, determine what he is and what he should be. Now, this was Krishna himself, after killing Kamsa, when his father and mother were released from jail, that is, Kamsa's jail. Pardon? Vasudeva and Devaki. So first thing they did was, to send them out to the school, to Gurukul. Sandipan says Sandipan's Gurukul at Ujjaini. Till then, Krishna was practically illiterate. I mean, the young boy. All that you see about Krishna dancing with damsels, all these are fantastic nonsense. He was a little boy at that time. And then he went to school with Sandipan says Sandipan. Now all the Rasa Lila, etc., they were at another plane, an occult level, not at the physical plane at all. There is another method altogether. So we see the rishis, unique set of human beings, the ashramas, and ultimately yoga. Each ashrama had the ultimate goal, yoga. Work was there. Professional expertise was imparted to the seekers of education, the boys who came there, but at the same time, all these things were only medium. They were only process. They were only means of something more, and that was yoga. And you all know yoga means union. The very words yoga says, it indicates that we are separated from something with which we have to be united. Yoga can be possible only when there is in the Vijoga a separation. And from what have we been separated? We have been separated from the knowledge, the jnana, the prajna, wisdom, and we are immersed in ignorance. Basically, this is the separation. All other units of separation come included in this. There is a ultimate truth from which we have fallen, we have been separated, and we have to recover that. And yoga is the process through which we recover that. And meditation is fine. But since the divine created this world, the world itself is divine in action. How could the world be at all possible unless the divine acted in it and is acting in it? So the world runs, it goes on. So every action can become a means of yoga because divine himself is in action in this world. The central philosophy of yoga is this. And that is how, in the times of Upanishads and the epics, the ashramas reign. But every great civilization and nation has a fall, rise and fall. This mighty culture, this splendid culture, was eclipsed in course of time. There was a time when the Vedas were forgotten, the essential, the core teaching of the Vedas and the Vedantas, Upanishads were forgotten. Rituals and rituals and rituals, nothing more than rituals. New principles were created by vested interest for the human beings. And cruelty, all these things, the society was in a doldrums. It fell into very bad times when Buddha came. And he declared life itself is nothing but a bundle of sorrows. Escape from this life, here is the path, Nirvana. And he established the culture of ashrama became Biharas, Buddhist Biharas. All over India, Buddhism flourished for a few hundred years. And there isn't a single corner of India where Buddhist Biharas did not spring up. So the ashramas were still by name, some ashramas were called ashramas. But then what dominated the Indian civilization and culture? The Biharas. And they were ascetics, the whole culture of work, which was a characteristic of the Vedic ashram, the Upanishadic ashram, the epic ashram, that was completely given up. And now they won't do anything. They will meditate, wait for nirvana, they will follow a certain discipline and beg from people and thereby sustain themselves. Few centuries later, there came another great talent, Shankaracharya. He said, no, this won't do. You want nirvana? I have my own way of nirvana, and that is derived from the Vedas. He managed to interpret the Vedantic principles in such a way as if his was the most authentic interpretation It was not. Because the Vedanta admitted the fact that there is illusion in the world. But illusion is possible only because reality is there. Because an object is there, its shadow can be possible. Without the object, there cannot be shadow. Without reality, there cannot be illusion. Illusion of what? Of something. And that is the real thing. Now, so the purpose of our seeking, our yoga is to separate the reality from illusion, to realize the reality and dispense with the effect and the dominance of illusion. But according to Shankara, nothing is this creation if not illusion. Everything is illusion, and hence Buddha said everything is sorrow. He said everything is illusion. Escape from illusion, here is the path of nirvana from my side. As you say, old wine in new bottle. Now, he established 4 mathas in 4 distant areas of the subcontinent. Hundreds of other maths sprang up. Ashrams became viharas, after that became maths. Name ashram was there, but then maths and viharas were not life-oriented. They were life-negating institutions. They didn't accept the world as real. They didn't accept that the world is a future. They did not accept that the world has a living divine behind it, hiding, disguised, camouflaged. No, it is either a bundle of sorrows or it is nothing but illusion. First, Vedic ashramas. Second, ashramas as viharas and maths. Then comes the 3rd stage in Indian history of ashramas, Sri Aurobindo ashram. Life-affirming ashram. It believes that life has a purpose, and that purpose is not to escape from life, not to escape from the cycle of birth and death, but to ennoble life and to make the life a mixture of falsehood and truth, an example of perfect truth. Why not? Truth is there, divine is there, reality is there. And in ashram, all work must be taken over, just as the Vedic ashrams did. Nothing is beyond the divine. Nothing is outside the scope of the divine. No action can be there which can run without the divine's energy. It is only a question of attitude to offer my work, my action to the divine, and my work becomes yoga. My action becomes yoga. Yes, meditation is fine, but that is not the only thing. And to read from a statement of Sri Aurobindo, you see, yes. The way of yoga followed here, that is Sri Aurobindo Ashram Pondicherry, which equally applies to Sri Aurobindo Ashram Delhi branch. The way of yoga followed here has a purpose different from others, all other ashrams. For its aim is not only to rise out of the ordinary ignorant world consciousness into the divine consciousness, but to bring the supramental power of that divine consciousness down into the ignorance of mind, life and body, to transform them, to manifest that divine here and create a divine life in matter. So this is the great philosophy of transformation. And the 3rd category of ashram, Sri Aurobindo Ashram Delhi branch. And today, unknown and nobody realized it, but if you study the history of ashrams, you will see during last 50 years, all the ashrams practically, they have been obliged to take up actions in the world, somebody through charity, somebody through public welfare schemes. They do not any longer say life is illusion. They themselves do not know it's the influence of the mighty great truth which Sri Aurobindo has brought down and the model of Sri Aurobindo Ashram. Now, it was once upon a time, death is the ultimate goal through which one can pass into complete non-existence. Now it is new styles of life. They will name their own system says new styles of life and take up these principles of yoga. You will improve in your business. Here is a yoga for business. Here is a yoga for this and that. Now, one thing is certain. Although they do not know what exactly inspired them to change their attitude and the goal, they still will come to the goal of Nirvana. If you ask any traditional guru or traditional disciple of one of the hundreds of ashrams in India, in North India in particular, in the Himalayan region, they will still outwardly ascetic-like, they will still say that Nirvana is the goal, but they are obliged to undertake work in the society for humanity's sake. Now, even though that is not the ultimate goal of Sri Aurobindo's yoga, but it is one step towards that because they understand that the life is not an illusion, but the world is not an illusion. We cannot do without them. Dear friends, time is running out and I must conclude. How do we do living in an ashram like here, this place? Yes, we are also active, we are also acting, we are contributing to the ashram's welfare, but to be conscious of the fact that I am doing this not as millions of people do it outside the world, but I am doing it for sake of the divine. My work is an offering to the divine. My word, my action, my feelings, the moment I offer them to the divine, that makes me a worthy inmate of an ashram. As you must have seen in Sri Aurobindo Ashram at Pondicherry, and here also, it is not someone who has to go through a strict disciplinary, a penance-like discipline to become an inmate of the ashram. It is because each individual represents a certain area of the total human consciousness. Sri Aurobindo's yoga cannot avoid any area of consciousness. His light, his power must act on the darkest area of human consciousness, the most ugly area of human consciousness, all areas of human consciousness. So, we are the people, we inmates of the ashram are the ones who represent the human consciousness in parts. Hence, when we are offering our work to the divine, thereby linking ourselves with the divine, the grace of the divine is working through us on the entire human consciousness. So that is the difference between other ashrams and our ashram. We are not ascetics, but we are believers in a transformed humanity. Certainly today's humanity is not something ideal. It is not something so very great that this must be preserved. But it has to be a different humanity, and that promise is there, that light also is there, and the power is at work. But one thing, our life as we live it is a marketplace. The mind, emotional range through which we act, we react, we converse, we communicate with others, we deal with others, we exchange with others. There is a marketplace. I am not that really speaking. I have an inner self. I have a deeper self. I have something much, much peaceful, delightful, something great, something divine within myself, what is called by Mother and Sri Aurobindo, my psychic being. To live in the ashram is to strive to lead an inner life. Yes, I must act outwardly as anybody else. But I have an inner life through which alone I can communicate with forces which are far beyond the human capacity, forces which really control the ultimate destiny of mankind. If we do that, we will realize, do not for a moment believe that I am saying these things means I have realized. No, I am only saying what we all ought to know. We ought to be conscious of the truth of that, and we have to practice that. So that practice is to lead an inner life. Just as rishis, by living in an inner life, they could know what is going on, what is going to happen in the future. By leading an inner life, we can also feel that a mighty, great, divine power is at work today in the world atmosphere. Without that, we cannot know that. To practice living in an inner life is justifying our stay in one of the ashrams, either in Pondicherry or here. And it is possible because the force is there, the helping force, the divine force, the grace. Grace is something which is inexplicable. You see, never mind somebody is doing injustice towards you, somebody is being unkind towards you. Forget about it. Our relationship with the divine. I remember when early days when I came to the ashram, Taradi was there, of course, you would know better. And I just faintly remember somebody complaining about somebody else and writing to the mother. Mother, this is what has been done to me. Please, take him to task. Mother doesn't do anything. Second time, third time he says, Mother, if you don't do this, where is justice? Mother's answer then is, it is not justice which governs the ashram. It is grace which governs the ashram. So, if we believe in grace, if we trust in grace, our life in the ashram will be easy. If we don't do that, it will be difficult because yoga is kurasya dhara. It has been made easy for us. Through surrender to the mother, we can do that. But still, we have to be sure that we believe in grace, we trust in grace. And, dear friends, let us resolve to do that. Don't take my words as words of somebody who has known or somebody who has realized, not at all. I am as a kindergarten student like many of you, some of you may be senior, in the truth of yoga and the philosophy of yoga. But then, I believe in these things. My only right to say is my trust in the truth of these words and these things. Thank you very much. Thank you.